touching snow this year. It's a matter of just getting warmed up all around in terms of my gear, remembering how to do all this, so just gonna take it easy. Looks like the snow's picking back up again. Feels good to be out.
October 23rd, 2022 was the first day that we touched snow last year. And little did we know, all of us, just how incredible of a season we would have. Not only me, us, the Stoke Squad, everyone really in the West. I mean, this season is just one that will go down in history, and I'll be hard pressed to see another season that strong really in the next 10-15 years. But at the time of Arapahoe Basin opening day, I think the channel had around 17,000 subscribers. And now at this point, we're looking down into 50,000, which is just insane in its own right. But I wanted to provide some backstory because we've had so many new people come on last season, and I feel like they've missed everything else that's happened. But I had worked in real estate for about 3 years, in TV a year before that, and then before that, I was finishing up my graduate degree and stuff like that. But I ended up leaving my job June 1st of 2022 because I just felt like I wanted more in my life. And I had never left with the intention to go, you know, travel in a van and ski and make YouTube videos. But throughout that whole time, I was building the YouTube channel on the weekends. In around August, I took on a rather large freelance project that sort of helped me obtain a strong sum of money where I was like, hey, I can kind of chill for a little bit. And that was kind of, by the time I wrapped that up, it was end of September, and I was like, why don't I go to opening day at Arapahoe Basin? I've never done it before. I'll just go for the weekend, check it out, and you know, stay in Luna and whatnot, make a video and see how it goes. And that was my original intent. Once I did that, I really just never looked back from there.
Come with me. We could spend the weekend doing everything they said we'd never do. In their universe, we're just causing trouble, but nothing can hurt.
So as the 2023-2024 season is slowly approaching, I want to just kind of do like a little season in review video and show the overall experience. I mean, we all had epic POW days. We know the season was great, but I think there's more to it. And I think looking at the entire season as a whole, now that it ended, you can really see kind of the whole experience, the highs and definitely the lows and stuff like that, and just see kind of the changes that we went through from October all the way out realistically until June, when we stopped skiing. October 23rd, Arapahoe Basin opened up, and October 28th, Keystone opened up. So for the end of October, we were just alternating between A Basin and Keystone. On Halloween, October 31st, Winter Park had their earliest opening day ever to date, and we got to be a part of that, which again, we were kind of living history before we really knew what was going on or what that season was going to be. And really, we were just on a quest at the opening day, share the journey, share the conditions, and just show people kind of what it was like skiing that early in the season. November 3rd, Loveland opened, and this is my first time ever at Loveland, and also my first time meeting Jonathan Buckhouse in person.
And I just want to say, guys, hard work pays off. You see how hard this dude is working? See how the channel's blowing up? You see the stoke on his face? Work hard, like a good boy, and you're gonna do well in life. I love it. Keep grinding.
Thank you.
And then November 9th, Breckenridge opened early. They were supposed to open November 11th. They moved their days up because they already had enough coverage. November 11th, Vail opened up, and it was just such an incredible opening day. Before we'd even got to Thanksgiving, we had already skied some great conditions for opening day sort of stuff. The day after Vail opened up, I got a really unique opportunity to film a silver medalist ski racer, Ryan Cochran Smith, or RCS, at Copper Mountain before the mountain was even open to the public. I remember I was up there like way out of my depth with a camera and just like sidestepping my way down this super steep slope filming RCS, which was just a cool experience to be a part of, and again, just sort of share stuff with you guys about the whole journey.
If I go even a higher frame rate, you get super slow motion of them, you know, just laying it out. So kind of a trade-off, but
well, and this turn in slow motion is so great.
Sick, yeah.
day Copper opened to the public, and we had an epic sort of like mini POW day. And I remember just the hype in the Stoke out there was so high. That was probably one of the most energetic opening days all year.
I am, man.
Dude,
What's your name?
Josh.
Josh, nice to
Nice
meet
to
you.
meet you.
It was this day at Copper where I met TJ Kern, who runs the Board Archive YouTube channel. And this was really like one of the first times someone was like, hey, I'll film you ski. And I was like, wait a second, this was totally new to me, and just really cool again to meet people who have been in this game for a while and have established names and brands in this space. So to get to ride with TJ, meet him and his guys, and just notch another opening day under our belt was super rad. Now, a few weeks into November, we left Colorado for this season and we went back over to Utah to start to check out the opening days in the Wasatch and just start skiing the places that we were familiar with. We had an awesome opening day at Park City. We had one of the most epic opening days ever at Snowbird. We were literally skiing the lower Cirque on opening day. We had an insane opening weekend at Alta. We did high boy and main shoot on opening freaking weekend. Like, it's just crazy. After we jumped our way into high boy, we literally boot packed up and skied main shoot on opening weekend. And I never went back to Alta after that all year long.
Stoke elk, Stoke Squad, here we go. You. Gonna take my time here. You wanna make sure you find your rhythm at the top. Okay, feels like we kind of settled in. The snow is softer than a baby's bottom.
And if it couldn't get any better, on Thanksgiving, which is still so early in the year, we skied 99.90 on Canyon Side at Park City, like the very, very top of the mountain, which is, it's just unheard of. Like, sometimes it'll be Christmas and only the mid mountain down will be open. So the fact that we had literally skiing at 10,000 feet enough coverage on Thanksgiving was incredible. So at this point on Thanksgiving, we already had 23 days under our belt, which was just unreal, because the most I had ever skied in a year before last season was about 35 days the year before. So the fact that I was already coming into 30 days before Thanksgiving was just really cool. And all the meanwhile, we were kind of documenting the changes and just sort of our experience along the way. But the day after Thanksgiving, we had our first Jupiter experience of the year. But it was so unique, and I'm so stoked we were able to do it, because you had to get off Thanes Lift and then hike up to Pioneer Ridge, and then you could only ski the west side of Jupiter. So one lap took a very long time, took a lot of energy, and I remember we were the only ones up there. I think we did 4 laps, and I was so stoked to ski Warzone and Dead Tree and West Face, and it was still November. So skiing Jupiter in November was just like mind-blowing. If you guys know, Jupiter at Park City is one of my favorite zones of all time. So when I saw that was open, I was like, I don't care how we got to get there, I'm going. And then if November couldn't have gotten any sicker, Deer Valley announced for the first time ever a November opening day. Typically Deer Valley waits till around like December 7th to open, so they have enough things open, so the experience is nice for people who choose to come. But because we had gotten so much snow, Deer Valley opened in November, their first ever November opening day, and they got 10 inches overnight. So we had a Bluebird POW day for opening day. I mean, stuff that, like, it felt like it was February skiing in November. As December rolled in, we had consecutive POW days at Snowbird, just some of the best days of the year at the time, up in Little Cottonwood Canyon before the holiday rush came and stuff like that. We were just skiing snow over our head. It was so incredible.
Oh! Let's go! Let's go, Joe! Oh my God!
Let's go. Let's go, dude. Oh my God. That was stupid.
We even snuck in one more opening day at Sundance down in kind of like the Provo area of Utah. So that was really cool. I've never been to Sundance before, so checked out their opening day and met Board Progression, who's another snowboard YouTuber. So that was really cool, linking up with him and being able to put Sundance a little bit on the channel and stuff like that. But perhaps this is where the season just really started to get pretty gnarly. Tahoe was projected to get hit with a ton of snow. We were stuck in a crazy storm cycle. We went to Squaw Valley, the Palisades area, Alpine Meadows. The mountain shut down because of wind and snow. It just was so gnarly. But Tahoe, it just snows flakes that look like this, man, like huge snowflakes, and they just don't stop. And so I was like, there's really nothing you can do, especially when trying to navigate that on a van. So I found a safe place to park for the night and just kind of hope for the best. And I woke up in the morning to literally, no joke, about 3 feet of snow. The whole point was just the experience of going through that with the van, Luna, reaping the rewards afterwards. But it kind of also reminded me how gnarly Tahoe can be, and especially trying to do it in a van. Now, due to the storms and the cold and just the wear and tear, I had an issue with my rear aluminum boxes, which just act as storage for oils, chemicals, tire chains, stuff like that, where the box broke. And now typically this wouldn't be a huge deal, but the way I store my skis is through the back doors. I need to release the boxes to get in the back doors. So I was at Sugar Bowl. I ultimately made a decision to drive from Truckee down to San Diego to get these boxes fixed. It was a 10-hour drive, just like all the way down the state of California. The boxes were fixed in 30 minutes. I was like, okay, I literally just drove 10 hours for a 30-minute fix, but I guess we need to do it. So it allowed us to check out Big Bear on the way back north, and then we went over to Mammoth for our very first time. And this is where a lot of, I feel like the season kind of took a turn for the better, you could say, or just really where some of the experiences started to elevate to a new level. I made 3 videos at Mammoth. One of skiing Chair 22 in 1 hour. I had like 1 hour left in the day, and so I just saw how many laps I could do at Chair 22.
It's currently 3:08. So we might literally get one run. I have an idea of where I want to go. The question is, can we make it there in time? 52 minutes remaining, 1 hour at Mammoth Mountain. Cue the music. Dun, 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 dun.
Another video on like Chair 23, Philippe, stuff like that, the Paranoids.
Look at that gap, I got a split.
And then a video on the Hemlocks. It was because of these videos I got a YouTube comment, or that turned into an Instagram DM, whatever, by Abe Kislevitz, who is, man, I feel like I've talked about Abe a ton of times, but he's just like the OG GoPro guy. He's now a senior creative director. He's just the guy who's really developed all of the GoPros, and he's a huge skier, biker, just sort of all around outdoor guy. And he saw the videos and it was like, hey, I'm gonna be in Mammoth over New Year's. You should come out, hang out, ski, and whatever, make videos. And on my end, Abe was someone that I had looked up to for years. I mean, ever since I started using a GoPro, Abe is and always was like the cream of the crop, the best there is out there. So I got back to Utah, I think the day or two before Christmas, spent Christmas with my family, whatnot, and then 2 days like after Christmas, I went back to Mammoth. 10-hour drive right back to Mammoth to ski for 2 days with Abe and his friends and stuff over the holiday period. But I can't jump right to that, because when I was in Utah for those few days, I had perhaps my all-time greatest Jupiter rope drop. Now, look, for those who like, there's something incredibly unique about a Jupiter rope drop, because a lot of times a rope drop, the rope drops and then the terrain is right there. So you ski at whatever rope drop. The thing that makes Jupiter unique is that the rope is actually at the beginning of a cat track. So when the rope drops, you have this really long cat track to get to the lift. So it turns into this like inherent race with everyone, because yeah, the rope has dropped, but it's really who can get to the chair first that's gonna score the best first tracks. I was trying a different strategy where if you wait at the rope, you kind of can't get a good enough start and it's really slow. So I waited all the way back, started dead last, and I had this crazy run all the way up through the field and ended up getting the second chair, like, you know, P3 or P4, however you want to call it. And then was the first person down main bowl. So just honestly, my all-time greatest rope drop sort of race. People can say what they want, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, you're racing. Like, everyone is there racing to go to the chair to get first tracks.
End of the day rope drop. What's up, dude? What's your name? Beckham. Oh shit, what's up, dude? What's your name?
Sarah.
Nice to meet you. What's that?
I'll see you at Spot.
Okay. After that, I went back to Mammoth, skied with Abe, and it was just an incredible experience. Learned so much, had so much fun. We had a Bluebird POW day. Just stuff that dreams are made of is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
And I'll go
just fun to have somebody to shred with. I've been like kind of going solo for a long time, so like every time I turn around, you're like right behind me.
I'm trying to. I'm working my hardest, but why don't you, if you don't mind, tell some of the internet like what you do and kind of why someone like me would be so excited to meet someone like you.
Sure. Well, I started a YouTube channel back in 2008, actually, and now I work for GoPro, and so I do like creative directing at GoPro and work on the engineering side and ski here at Mammoth, and yeah, it's super fun.
And when I had got back, I was only there for a few days because I really didn't want to overstay my welcome. I didn't want to, you know, feel like I was burdening Abe and his crew and New Year's Eve plans and stuff. So I remember when I got back, I sent Abe a text like, hey man, just, you know, thank you for the invite. I had a blast, like kind of like, it was great to meet you, have a good winter kind of thing. And he texted me back and invited me to go to like an Ikon Pass road trip, heli skiing trip in Canada. And I couldn't believe it. I cried. I cried. Joe came out to help me kind of unload some stuff. And I remember I just like hugged him and I started crying because I was just like, it just didn't feel like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it should be me, if that makes sense. Like I don't really know why I got so emotional about it, but it just seemed like kind of all these years of hard work started to kind of blossom into something. And the fact that I had someone like Abe invite me on a trip like this was just incredible. So in the meantime, before that happened, we had arguably the sickest storm cycle of the year. We had 4 or 5 days of consecutive POW days. I'm talking just like feet of snow, 1 foot after another foot after another foot. And I had my all-time best face shot, which is a whole story for another video. But I remember we skied, you know, 40 inches up at Jupiter. We went over to Snowbird. I used my 133s for the first time. It almost got to the point where it was like, man, I just want to see the sun and I just want to like ski some groomers because it was just so much POW day after day after day. After we got all the POW out of our system, it was time for the Canada trip. I think still to this day, the trip is a little bit abstract of like what the point was, but basically the trip was hosted by Ikon Pass in partnership with CMH Heli. And the whole idea was like, hey, you can get an Ikon Pass and you can go to resorts like Lake Louise, the Banff area. You can go heli ski for a day with CMH. Then you can go over to Revelstoke and kind of make like, the idea was like this road trip experience. And so they invited people of different sort of areas of the ski industry. You had Burke Irving, who's a Red Bull, you know, half pipe rider, Cassidy Jarrow, who's on the US ski team for half pipe. You have people from New Schoolers who wrote articles and stuff, Powder Magazine, someone like Abe Kislevitz, who's kind of like the GoPro media guy. Abe sort of brought me along with him. And so that's kind of what the idea of the trip was like. But it was my first time, one, ever being included in anything of the sorts of like content creation and skiing. First time ever getting something paid for like that, paid to travel, you know, hotel rooms, food, everything. And really just my first time skiing with people, skiing with professional athletes, people who are truly professionals in their craft. And so it was an eye-opening experience on so many levels. And I feel like this is really where my craft of skiing and filmmaking just continued to rise as I learned from Abe. In my opinion, the highlight of my entire season, and honestly one of the highlights of my entire life. But it was like, as if that wasn't enough, right when I got back after the 3-4 day trip up in British Columbia and Alberta, I had set up a gig with Deer Valley, and they put me in a ski in, ski out sort of little condo thing for two 2 nights, and they set up these really cool experiences. So the goal with that was highlight Deer Valley and the different things they have going on. So the first day I got to do early up skiing, which is where you go up at 7:30 in the morning before the lifts are open.
Being up on the mountain with content creators like yourself, just like the coolest thing, right? We're gonna be up there an hour
I know.
With some of our First Tracks guests, and it's a great place to work, and it's an awesome place to ski. Ski the difference.
I can make a sentence and nothing makes sense. We had our moments, I relive now, again and again.
We had like 4 inches overnight or something, so we had like this little mini pow day on top of like freshly groomed snow, which is honestly one of the best combinations there is. Pow is awesome, but even a few inches on the top of a groomer is just like the chef's kiss. So first chair down Empire Bowl, because I kind of had like the hookup with Ryan, who like knew when it was going to open. So I got first chair. I was just like straight down the middle. And then the next day they set me up with Jillian Votley, who is a 2-time Olympian. So I got to shred with an Olymp. It was just like, dude, it was like looking back at it, it was like, what the hell is going on? You're like, what the hell is going on? You know what I mean? It was like, wait a second. I ski with a GoPro out in front and like, that's it. And film myself talking to a camera in a van. So it was just kind of a little bit like, okay, this is getting to be a little bit crazy.
You want to maybe just hike up a little bit and then just coming with speed, I'll follow right behind you. It'll be nice slow-mo, like pow with the view. So, okay, Jillian, I'm ready.
So once that sort of craziness of January came to an end, I had finally left for my trip. That really was the main focus of the whole ski season. My whole goal was to go ski the Pacific Northwest, British Columbia, like go on this kind of loop. And it kind of got delayed because of these other obligations. So I didn't end up leaving until the end of January. But this is where stuff kind of started, you know, after being so incredible, it kind of started to go down a little bit. It got really difficult. And I think at the end of the day, I just was getting tired, both creatively, physically, things with the van. You know, it's easy to sort of see it online in the YouTube videos, but it's what you don't see is just the work that goes into it. Skiing all day, editing at night, trying to, you know, set the Starlink up so I can upload the video, and making sure I have enough power to, like, right, there's a lot of other things that go on behind the scenes with it. But, you know, the show must go on. We pushed forward. We started our trip off with Mount Bachelor, then we went to Mount Hood Meadows, then we worked way into Washington, did Crystal Mountain, Snoqualmie, and then that's kind of where the van broke. And the weather was really tough. I guess I didn't really fully understand the Pacific Northwest weather with just how wet it was, and it just kind of wore me down. But ultimately the van electrical broke, and it really left me in a bad time. I mean, I remember I stayed at a truck stop just south of the Washington British Columbia border, and the electrical broke. And so I was like, wow, like really couldn't have happened at a worse time. And I couldn't figure it out. I tried so many different things. I had the battery stuff apart. I was on the phone with people who kind of know this stuff. I was doing voltmeter readings, like, and I couldn't figure out why the van batteries were not charging. The house batteries were not charging off the van batteries. And it honestly just totally sucked everything out of me. And in retrospect, looking back at it, I needed to handle it better. I needed to be more resilient with it and just sort of figured out a way to make it all work, because it really affected my mood. And I remember I'd be like sitting in the van in the pitch dark because I just didn't have power. I was sulking in it, and I wasn't I wasn't trying to figure out how to make the most of the situation I was in. And I was in this beautiful part of the country, the world even. I mean, at the Sea to Sky Highway, I was up in Squamish for 2 days. I didn't even film a lot of this because I was so dejected at this point. But I want to share it with you guys because, one, you deserve to know. And two, it's real, right? I mean, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, bluebird pow days and stuff like that. So I hung out in Squamish for a few days. I went to Whistler. I skied Whistler for 2 days, but just couldn't get anything going. I mean, creatively, I had nothing. It was like raining. It was just, man, it was just very, very difficult. I was fortunate enough to reach back out to one of the marketing managers at Revelstoke from the trip I went on with Abe. She was like, hey, come over to Revelstoke. I'll set you up with a hotel. So I was like, perfect. Like, the van isn't really working anyways. Like, this will be nice. Stay in a hotel, whatever, we're good. So I ended up driving east and I hung out in Revelstoke for, I don't even know, maybe 4 or 5 days through this hotel. Papa Joe came out with my sister, so they got to experience Revelstoke for the first time. And after Joe and my sister left, I was left in Alberta. And this is where like it went. There was a massive cold streak that hit Alberta, -30, like 3 degrees Fahrenheit in Alberta. And I was like, look, I have no power. I can't run my heater. I need to get out of here like ASAP because this just isn't good. Diesels and cold weather, like none of that. And I remembered I was working my way south. I just left Calgary. I was heading back down to the border and I stopped for the night. And I went to turn the heater on. The heater didn't fire up. It didn't have enough battery. So I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? It's already below zero. It's supposed to get even colder tonight. I would set an alarm on my phone to wake me up every 90 minutes so I could turn the van on. One, just to keep the van, the diesel warm enough so it would start and it wouldn't gel up, but two, to try to blow some heat out. And I remember, you know, it was just like, it was a freezing cold night and I was like, I just need to get out of here. So I finally, the next day, left, went down to Montana, but I was in Butte, Montana, and Highway 15 was closed because of a storm. The winds were so high, it just wasn't safe to travel through that corridor of Montana and Idaho. But the thing was, there's no other way to get south. Everything else was also closed. It was either a mountain pass road, a seasonal road, so I had nowhere to freaking go. It was so cold at night, the van wouldn't start. So I literally had to get a Luna towed to a shop, warm Luna up, then she would fire up because everything just got so cold. So I was like, okay, sick, the van's starting, I'm gonna go. The road was still freaking closed. I missed the window. They opened it up for a little bit of time, but because the van was in the shop, I couldn't get out. So by the time the van was ready, the road was closed again. So I had to stay in Butte, Montana another night. Woke up the next day, van wouldn't start. Long story short, the van, everything worked out. Made it back just in time for Joe's birthday. It was his 62nd birthday. We skied Jupiter, which was awesome, and he hiked the peak. And he kind of came out with this whole phrase, earn the rocking chair, which I think was just a great metaphor for myself, for you, for whoever else.
I think it's all about keeping the fire burning. You gotta love it to stay loving it, and you gotta keep yourself motivated. It starts right back in the off season, and then it goes right to the finish of the season. So it's all about the ride, really. I'm gonna earn the rocking chair, and I think that's what people have to admit to themselves. They gotta earn the rocking chair.
This season for me kind of came to an end with the second annual Stoke Squad meetup. This is where people come in from all over the country. We had people from Ohio, from Florida, from Oregon, and it was just an incredible experience to ski with you guys and meet you guys finally. We had about 22, 23 people for the Park City meetup on Saturday and about 13, 14 people at Solitude on Sunday. So it kind of marks the end of the ski season for me, albeit it was sooner than I had wanted to, but I honestly was just still kind of dejected where I was at and just burnt out. I mean, I was just like being on such a high so early in the season. I think it was tough to maintain and it kind of crashed me later on. Of course, looking back at it, I should have been able to handle that better, but like I said, I live and I learn, and hopefully I can take these lessons going into this upcoming season so it's even better and there's more longevity to it. This is kind of kicking off the start of some ski videos, and I wanted to do a little recap of last year, mainly for people who jumped on board midway through the season or people who just aren't aware of kind of where we're at, what we've done, and also to give you guys a realistic view of what it's like doing this, because people romanticize traveling in a van and skiing, and I have news for you. It's incredible, it's amazing, but it doesn't, you there's a lot of other things to it as well. So if you guys are unaware, I have finally launched Stoke Squad stickers, so you can get them on my website, lucascatania.com/shop. There is a few different styles, few different designs, so please check them out. And this is just like, yeah, a little something something. This is the only one that exists in the entire world, Stoke Squad. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take it easy, fam. I need to drink something because I just talked way too much, way too much.